It's Thursday night once again. Artists on Lockdown, Hangin and Bangin. Ron Onesti here with you outside of Chicago in St. Charles, rock and roll heaven. I am so happy to see you guys again. This is episode 67 or number 20-something on season 2. I'll get it right one week. But I am here every week along with my brothers, Carmine Apiece, Vinny Appice, and I am so excited tonight. We've got two monster rockers. I tell you what, Johnny Tempesta from The Cult, Brent Smith from Shinedown are going to be joining us in just a moment. Before we do, let's bring to the screen my brothers, Vinny and Carmine. What's happening, guys?
Hey.
There they are.
All at once.
Hey. So what are you doing? Vinny, I tell you what, you are got to be one of the funniest guys I know. And you don't even try. That's the thing.
I don't try. It's just this is the way it is. You know, I was booking airline tickets for the band stuff, so when I booked for, I'm wondering why I have to scroll down so much on the date of birth. I thought I'd ask you, Ron.
Are you throwing me a shot here?
Yeah, like you put your birthday in and the year. I got to scroll all the way down now. What happened?
Yeah, well, you know what? You're getting old, man. So
That's
how old
it?
are you now?
I'm 18 Celsius.
Hey, don't laugh.
Carmine.
When I do that, I do it fast. It goes brrrr.
I know it's like
Come up, and I
it's like a
still
slot
have to go
machine.
more.
Carmine goes to another. He goes to another century.
Yeah, he does.
Century one?
I think I'm like 96 Celsius.
No, you know what it is. It's like you start putting your age in, then it says, you know, have your caretaker check you in. And you know what I got to say? We always say what great hair you have lately, Carm. You know, but I don't know. You today it looks like you. I got to be honest. Did you nap recently?
He's not home. He's not home.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
home.
that's what it is.
I've
Okay.
been flying all day, but I kind of like it. It's a bit messy looking.
You know what? You got that. You're starting to get.
Messy, you know? What?
You're starting to get that Richard Gere look.
Oh, I
Richard
like
Gere.
that.
That doesn't suck, I guess.
No, it don't suck.
You know, I don't know how old he is, but I just saw he's like 89 or something weird like that.
No, he's not 89.
How old is Richard Gere? Tell me how Richard Gere is.
probably-
He's younger
late
than
60s.
me. He's younger than me.
Late 60s.
Yeah,
Late 60s, really?
Yeah.
I thought he's like, huh?
But
He's 72.
okay, younger than me.
He is younger than you.
But you know what? Talk about 89. What about 90-year-old William Shatner going up in space?
Is he 90 years old? Holy
90
Isn't that
years
crazy?
old. Isn't that unbelievable?
Well,
Yeah,
he did it, right?
Captain Kirk, when he got into the capsule, I said, Captain Kirk's getting into the capsule. I said, whoa.
He's always Captain Kirk.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
We
you
had
know,
him for a show a couple, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and my gosh, all he could talk about were where are the young girls? Where are the young girls? Unbelievable.
What kind of show did he do?
He does he does like a retro thing. He'll do like Q&A, and he'll talk about Star Trek and video.
I played on a solo album.
He does songs. Did you really?
Yeah.
What was the song? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but he talks it.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
like
same.
talks over it, you know.
It's like senior rap or something.
Yeah,
I don't know what it
really,
is.
really cool. Good guy. I
Vinny,
talked
you know-
to him on the phone. He had problems with the name too. I heard an interview. We did an interview together, and you know, over the phone or something. And then he had a problem with the name.
What name? Your name?
Yeah, your name.
Not your name. Not your name.
No, your
you know,
name.
Vinny, not to belabor the whole Vinny Appice sticker thing we did with all those hundreds of people in the audience. Not to belabor that from last week. However, we were driving home the other day, and we saw not one but two street poles with your face on it.
From the FBI?
Those things are getting me. Yeah, those things are getting me pretty in demand.
I'm waiting when I play there.
That's from
Yes,
the,
I can't do
the
that. I
police
got to do
files.
something.
You got to do
Yeah,
something.
right.
You can't
Well,
let
see, the
Vinny
problem
get
is
away-
you're
You can't let Vinny get away with that.
Why don't you
Well,
get
the thing is-
1,000 gray wigs?
no.
Hey,
You
speaking
know,
of
there
great
was
wigs-
something I was going to do, but it might be a little too obvious. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it really.
Don't talk about it.
Let's
Hey,
not
you
talk about
remember,
it.
Ron, when we did the thing with the wigs, the colored wigs? we put on for.
Oh yeah. Who was
for
that
our
for?
anniversary? For our anniversary, the 50th.
No, who did we do that for?
Mark Hudson.
Mark Hudson.
Yeah, I
The
still
funny
got my
thing was,
wig.
but here's the thing.
yeah.
I think I told you guys. I had that. I don't know. You probably got a picture of this somewhere, Ben. So we had these. This is just, Carmine. That's why you're not allowed to produce the show, because you had this idea of getting these goofy colored wigs. I got it. Your brother said, "Screw that. I ain't doing it." But you did it. We got these things on. I'm at a winery doing the show in California. I'm getting ready to grab the wig, and this big freaking monster dog comes and grabs the wig, and he's running all over the place. It blew our whole shtick.
It did. And Leslie,
So anyway,
Leslie said in my studio, she said, "What's that wig in the dish on the table?" I said, "Oh, that's from the show." She goes, "How long are you going to keep it?" I said, "I don't know."
So obviously she really liked it.
Yeah, right.
It's funny. You should just list it on eBay as, a Carmine a piece.
Hanging and banging wig.
And then they're gonna expect this beautiful wavy gray-haired wig, and they get that in the mail.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we got a couple guys waiting backstage. I'm very
man.
excited about these guys. An incredible drummer, an incredible vocalist, and through a couple of different genres of music. So we're gonna talk about that tonight. But very excited. Let's bring our brother from the Bronx, right? Johnny's from the Bronx, isn't he? Let's bring him on. Johnny Tempesta from the Cult.
There he is. There's my brother.
Yo, what are you doing from the Bronx?
We got a piece. We got apathy. What we got over here?
A Tempesta.
We got
We got Ron. That's it. Hey, tree syllables were good. See, a piece.
Tree.
Apathy is tree.
We have to
And
change
is
Brent's
tree.
last name to
That's
something when he
Right,
comes.
three. Tempesta, onesti, a piece.
E.
So
What's going on
a
over
piece.
here, man?
A PC.
Hey John, I
An
saw
apathy.
you use that gong behind you live. Is that true?
Oh, that little one? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Big
stand up
ending.
really high. I have like a 30-foot statue. That little ting ting.
I got one of those too.
Everybody thought their phone was ringing when you hit it.
That's the one. That's the one. Let's bring it up here.
I watched a Bronx Tale in your honor last night. That is timeless film, man. That's a
Great
timeless
movie.
Oh, isn't that great?
Oh,
I love
my
the
God.
cars in that movie. It's great
Yeah.
cars.
That's interesting. You're right. You're right. The convertibles.
Yeah, beautiful
So,
cars.
Johnny, tell us, man, what you've been doing. I mean, obviously, we've been doing this lockdown thing. A lot of people are coming out of it. What's going on with the Cult? I hear they're not coming out till 22.
No, unfortunately, we had to cancel the tour. We had something booked at the end of the month for a couple of weeks, but we're just taking precautions. So, until next year, we have a tour booked. We're doing a UK tour with Alice Cooper next in May out in the UK, which will be great, arenas. So I'm looking forward to that. But I was really looking forward to doing this tour. But hey, what's another year, right?
Yeah, right. They
It's
just
it'll be
fly
over.
by.
It'll be over before you know it.
See,
Hey,
that's,
why
what
don't we
happens
bring?
when that's what happens when you're in a big group. You can't tour this year.
I did play with my old band Exodus. Remember those guys, Vinny?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I
I
remember
met a
that,
few
yeah.
guys. So I did a couple shows with them last month, Vegas, the Psycho Fest in Vegas,
Nice.
because Tom,
Nice.
the drummer, had cancer, and he had called me to listen. A really big, major surgery. He goes, if I'm not playing drum, if I'm not walking, if I'm walking, I'm playing, right? But unfortunately, it wasn't, it didn't work out for him. So he had called and asked, if I can't do it, would you want to fill in? I'm like, wow. It's an honor, especially from Tom Hunting, to ask me to do this. And I haven't played that type of music in so long, 30 years. So I really had to get back to, playing the thrash metal, hitting the jam.
Yeah, man.
With the Cult's a whole different transition.
Oh yeah,
so.
yeah. The Cult
But
is-
it was a lot of fun getting back with the old boys again, and we did a couple shows. It was great, man. And so Tom's doing amazing. He beat the cancer, and he actually
That's
played last
great.
week at the Aftershock Festival. So he's up there kicking ass again. So
Good.
really
killer.
happy for him and everything.
Okay, let's bring our other brother on.
Our other brother, one of my favorite vocalists, powerful vocalist, Brent Smith from Shine Down. Come on, join us, Brent.
Brent.
What's
there you
happening?
go.
There he
Hey,
is.
oh, you sound good now.
What's
Really
going
good.
down?
Wow.
Wait a second. Let me just make it clear. Brent Smith always sounds good.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's
Yes,
on
it
a
is.
good on a good day.
most guys would kill to sing like you on your worst day.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
true.
about that, man. I'm in the presence of some serious legends here, so I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I'm quite nervous, actually. It didn't hit me until just now. I'm freaking nervous.
Ah,
Dude,
Nah,
you're
don't.
a,
hey, this.
I'm a huge fan of
Just
all
a
Oh,
of you.
bunch
thank
of
you, man.
a
But we
bunch of
just
Italian
hang.
guys
Yeah, just a
That's
bunch
all.
of
We're
Italian
neighborhood
guys
guys,
hanging
Brent.
out.
from the
We're
East
neighborhood
Coast.
guys, Brent. That's all.
So are you on tour, Brent? Are you on tour now?
So we just actually finished up 5 weeks that we were out, and then before we finished up the 5 weeks, we were out for 2 weeks. But we pretty much in the last month and a half, 2 months, we did about 26 shows. So we just
Oh, wow, good
finished
for
up
you.
everything.
Wow, that's a lot.
great.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
What kind of venues you playing? You playing theaters or small arenas, big arenas?
Everything that we did on this last run was a combination of bigger amphitheaters, arenas, and some theaters, some places we had never
Nice.
played before. So it was a good mixture of different sizes.
Didn't you
That's
just do
great.
an acoustic or a smaller run of some small like a club run?
So we have a side project, me and the guitar player in Shinedown, Zach Myers. We call it Smith and
Zach.
Myers. Yeah, we put a double album out last year
Mhm.
during the pandemic because we were writing it and putting it together early 2020. Actually, right after the Parnellis, because that was I was there. Carmine, you were there, if I'm not mistaken. I was given the award to Michael Strickland, the owner of Bandit Lights, the Visionary Award. Split from that, and we were out there working on it, and obviously the pandemic hit, but that was released last year. Me and Zach did it once before in 2014, and then we never ever thought that it would do anything, but it ended up doing quite more than we thought. We actually toured on it in 2017, so the goal was to do 10 covers, kind of reimagining, but then do 10 original songs as Smith and Myers. So that's what we did, and we were part of only 5% of the industry that toured last year. We did 10 drive-in shows, and then
Wow.
we did 10 regular shows in a bus towards the end of the year.
No.
Cool.
What was the drive-in shows like? Was that weird or?
You know what? It
Different.
was very rarely does the artist and the audience get to do something together for the first time. So
Right.
that was kind of what that was. And
Yeah.
So were you in a car too?
no, we were on as many makeshift stages as possible. Quite a few of those shows though were done by Live Nation, but the big thing
wild.
too is something that we did last year with Shinedown is we reached out to an organization called Direct Relief during the pandemic, early days of the pandemic, and we raised $500,000 for COVID-19 relief with Direct Relief, and then as we were kind of unearthing this song called Atlas Falls and this t-shirt that we used as 100% of the proceeds when you bought the shirt, you would get the download of the song. And then
Cool.
that kind of took us into this very interesting trajectory, but we were going to release the Smith and Myers double album anyway. And we said, yeah, it's a pandemic, but I mean, we know what to do. I mean, at least we think we know what to do. And we just went out there and did it.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's great that you raised so much money for them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats.
But then your Smith and Myers project, I know is very popular. I mean, I know you played the Rave in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, and
That's all
actually one of
Shinedown.
that was Shinedown.
Yeah, everything that we just finished up in the last 5 weeks and everything that we did, basically the last 26 shows in these last 2 months, that was all Shinedown. We did
That's great.
a month and a half at the beginning of the year with Smith and Myers, and we're actually going out at the end of the year. We have November 30th through December the 20th with Smith and Myers. But when we were out on Shinedown, we were kind of supporting getting back to live music, but also it took us 3 years with our last record, Attention, Attention. We were finally able to release the major motion picture that accompanied that record. So that's what we were supporting the last 5 weeks we were out.
I'll tell you what, it's great that you're out. Then you look at John, you guys are a
Yeah.
little stuck, because of different philosophies. It's really something. It's really editorial on how the world is and how crazy it is.
Yeah.
There really isn't one right answer here. But
Right.
Johnny, I know that you have there it is, Mark Hudson and the
What
Wigs.
the heck?
Yeah,
Hey,
it was
Nico, where's Nico?
yeah.
That's me.
There's
You
Nico,
the silly
and
wigs.
and there's who is that?
There's Mark.
Bumblefoot,
Mark.
right?
There was Mark Hudson on the
Oh,
left.
Bumblefoot.
That's
It was
Bumblefoot.
Bumblefoot, Nico, and Mark Hudson, and we decided to put these wigs on, and I don't know, Carmine, what the hell was?
That's funny.
That was the
Was that
last
Nico
rate of
McBrain in there too?
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, it was.
do you guys make guns too?
My crew.
Smith and Myers. I mean,
Smith and Meyer.
Hey,
Smith and Wesson.
We didn't make we don't make guns. We know a lot of people that do make guns.
yeah.
But
I got a couple
but
cousins that
was-
use them on a regular basis. It's just one phone call.
Yeah.
I want to ask you
Well,
guys as drummers, you drummers here, because this is something that Johnny, please chime in. But all you guys, the drummer portion of this, Ringo started. Obviously, it's Ringo. Okay, big deal. Johnny, you have mentioned him as a huge influence.
Yes.
Now, myself, I'm not a drummer, so excuse my ignorance here, and that's why I ask. I look at we've talked on this show many times about Krupa, about just all Buddy Rich, all the big ones. Then we go to John Bonham, we go to some of these, even Jason Bonham, we go to some of these guys. But Ringo Starr, to me, explain to me what was so magical about his drumming, because I don't see as just a person in the audience anything like major, a major difference. But I know you guys do. So can you tell me about that?
Who?
Johnny. Is he messing with us now, or are you muted?
Oh no.
Shit.
Are you muted?
Isn't this funny? We're worried about Brent, and
We can't hear you, John. Can't.
let's see. He's definitely muted. It's not you, Ben.
I can see the line on the mic.
Yeah, I know he's muted. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll work that out.
I'll
for a
answer
sec.
that.
Yeah, you can start with that.
Okay. I'll answer it the way I saw it. When Ringo and the Beatles first came out, I thought they were a joke, to tell you the truth. I was playing
Really?
clubs. I was playing R&B with horns and all that stuff. And then I got to really enjoy Ringo about the time of Day Tripper. And then the Revolver album. That's when I started seeing that he was doing some really interesting things. Where most drummers back in the day just used to play time. But he didn't play time. He had drum parts.
Yeah.
He had parts like, bum bum, boom boom, down,
I see.
just different drum parts. And I think that's what he brought to the ball game.
He was a pioneer in that respect.
Yeah, in that respect.
Yeah,
Very simple.
whenever somebody doesn't rely on playing time through a song and can come up with parts on the drums like that, that's
Especially
so
when
creative,
especially when no one else did it beforehand.
Nobody did that. And also the Beatles mixes sometimes, like in Paperback Writer, they mix the drums up, then they pull them back a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the only albums you hear drum levels change a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
Did you think
really
that came?
interesting.
Did that actually come from Ringo, or did Martin have something to do with that? Or?
Well,
That's a good
the
question.
mix probably came from George Martin, but the drum parts came from Ringo, I would think. Yeah, but who knows? It could have been Paul McCartney dictating
Yeah.
something.
That's what I was thinking. Do you think any of it came from Lennon at all? And he was such a not control, but I mean, he was so involved in the song structures.
What do you think, Vin? You knew Lennon.
I don't know. I always wondered that. I wonder if Paul came up with that or John, and
Yeah.
was that Ringo coming up with these great parts? I don't
But
know.
whoever came up with the parts, he
I think they all came
executed
up
them.
with it.
He
Yeah.
executed them and executed them well, to the point where everybody else thought, this is unique. I mean, there's
Well, some
a
of-
few of the songs on that Revolver album that when they went It's one of those. It was backwards kind of thing. It was
Yeah.
awesome. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, some have said I've heard in conversation that part of it was the genius of Ringo Starr. Part of it was some of it was improvisational, and some of it was just flat mistake, like he was high or something.
Could have been mistakes.
I leave mistakes on
I
too.
I know when I make mistakes, I do it again.
Well, then it's not a
You
mistake
do it.
anymore.
You do it again, so then it looks like you did it on purpose.
I've done mistakes on records, and I thought, you know what? I wouldn't have played that, but that sounds good, and I leave it on there.
It happens.
John, are you back,
Hey,
John?
Johnny's back.
Am I back? Am I
Yeah.
back?
You are back,
Okay.
my friend.
Now
Okay.
you can answer the question.
As far as Ringo goes, wait, let me blow this up. Yeah, it all started when I was like 7 years old, and it was Hard Day's Night. I was with my mother watching. I got an echo, but it's okay. Hard Day's Night. It was ABC on TV, and that was it. I seen Ringo and watched the movie, and just everything about him. He just exuded like the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? As not even he wasn't just a drummer; he was a part of the band. You know what I mean? There was four guys, and they were the Beatles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything he did for the Beatles, and each individual within themselves, they played for the song. Along with George Martin, is an amazing producer. Anything you hear, it was just like perfectly done. I mean, to me, you know.
See, like I said, to me, it's just his genius isn't as pronounced as others. You look at somebody, you look at a Neil Peart, like holy crap. I mean, you look at Carmine and Vinny, holy crap. I mean, you look at these guys. It's like look at that style. Ringo, to me, he just it's kind of having a good time, but again, you as drummers would see through that stuff.
He wasn't technically a technical drummer. He was just like John
Play
said,
for the
in
song.
band,
He played for the song.
Great for the song and creative parts that are fucking amazing.
The simplest parts, but were so tasty that worked for any section of a verse or a chorus.
Very cool.
You want to see something funny, right? We just did this thing. I did it with Nico. I did it at my studio, and I recorded Nico at my studio for this thing called Drum Together. And it's like this guy, Dom Famularo, put together like 100 drummers.
I seen that.
Right? And it was like a 13-minute version of Come Together done. Like the Beatles, then done funk, then done jazz, and everybody had a little piece in it. And at the beginning of it, Ringo counted it off. He went 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. That's all you saw of Ringo, and
great.
everybody else played. You got Dave Weckl, Greg Bissonette, Billy Cobham, Steve Gadd. I mean, just everybody on that thing. It was, I saw myself go by. And I didn't recognize myself because I had the white hair. I said, "Oh, I just went by."
Who's that guy?
Who is that
Who
guy?
is that? He's an old guy.
White hair.
I'm not used to it yet.
No, it was very cool. I watched it. It was awesome. They get all those drummers together, and everyone knows that song, especially.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God, that's good. So where can we see? Is that a YouTube thing?
Yeah, it's a YouTube thing. Just go on YouTube and put in a Drum Together. And we did it for a charity that there's a donation if you want to donate to it. You can click on it.
I will. Drum Together. Brent, give me your voice. I mean, I know you don't seem like a guy to take compliments very well. Very humble guy, but your voice is incredible. Your influences, your vocal influences, well, actually, before you get there, at what age did you see that, wait a second, I have an instrument within me?
Yeah, that's curious.
I feel really fortunate. I entered the world singing. My mother said, from the moment you got here,
you went.
She's like, as soon as you entered the earth, you were always singing, or I was always humming something, or anything of that nature. A really good friend of mine once told me, "You don't pick the music picks you." And I feel really lucky that when I was growing up, because I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee, so the area that I grew up in was very everybody was fine being in that bubble and that town, and that's where they wanted to be and that's where they wanted to stay. And I just wanted to do the complete opposite, which didn't mean I wanted to get rid of or get away from my hometown. I'm very proud of my hometown, but I wanted to see the world. And I feel lucky that I always wanted to be a singer. I really always just wanted to be a songwriter first, even before I started really pushing the envelope and seeing if I could actually be a singer. But my dad changed my life. You asked the question about my influences and stuff like that.
Yes.
Probably my biggest influences are all soul music based. Because when I was 14 years old, my dad gave me an anthology tape of a guy named Otis Redding.
Yeah.
And it completely changed the way that I looked at things, because at the time I was listening to the Misfits and the Exploited and
Hardcore.
a lot of a different type of style.
Was that the one? Did that have Satisfaction on it?
It did.
It did. That wasn't that unbelievable how he did the Satisfaction.
Everything about him was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I loved him.
The thing about it was, for me, is that Otis Redding got me to Percy Sledge, which got me to Marvin Gaye, which got me to Sam Cooke. Then Sam Cooke got me to Nina Simone. Nina Simone got me to Ella Fitzgerald. And then what's interesting that happened next was I found out about this little band from Birmingham called Black Sabbath.
And I never heard of them.
Yeah.
Who's that, Vinny?
Yeah.
I never heard them. I think it's a religious band.
They've got no future.
Yeah.
It just was, for me, my father, I remember him coming to my room and being like, listen, I don't understand. And he was being modest about it too, because I was listening to a lot of thrash, a lot of hardcore, a lot of like real hardcore punk. And my dad said, I have no idea what these people are so mad about. But while they're constantly yelling about everything, but I get it that it does something to you. This might do something to you also. And for the first 2 weeks, I like threw it, and I was cleaning up my room like a couple weeks later, and I found it. I put it in, and the very first song I heard was Love Man. And I just never heard anything sound like that come out of speakers, but that was done with a voice. And that really is what kind of put me on the trajectory.
Do you feel that you might record any of those R&B, or have you, your version? I want to talk about your cover project a little bit later, but from an R&B standpoint.
Well, I went down to Muscle Shoals. There was they were putting a record together a couple of years ago. I did Mustang Sally, and they were having a bunch of people record in Muscle Shoals where those songs were recorded and what have you. I'm influenced by it, but I've never gone out of my way to do a record like that or to put myself into that world. I'm always listening to that style of music, but it's something that I would do. Like,
let's do it. I'll do it with you.
Hey man, I'm there.
Let's do it. I love it.
You've got that feel, right? That soulful.
I grew up on that. I grew up on that stuff. I mean, when I heard the Black Crowes do "Hard to Handle," that was an Otis song.
Hell yeah.
They did it note for note, pretty much, and nobody else knew that.
Right.
You know, from that era. I knew that because I used to listen to the Anthology album also.
I didn't know that.
It's a really tightrope you walk to when you're talking about covering songs like that. And do you hold true to
that's how I made it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know?
Holding true to it.
As long as you got a good singer that can do that stuff, you know, and I mean, me personally, I can play that R&B all day long and love it. You know, Vinny, I don't know.
It's inspiring.
Not a chance.
John, what about you?
He hits them hard. I'm sorry.
Well, John, we talk about the classics, and like what Brent was talking about, the classics, and that's what I love about you, John. I mean, we all are fans, but you're like a real classic fan. You go to your Facebook page, you got a picture, you got your memories of Van Halen, you got a Deep Purple album on there, you got a picture of you at
But wait, John, did you ever play R&B?
No, but I mean, I was into R&B growing up. It was mostly for me, like growing up in the 70s, everyone in the neighborhood, same thing as Brent said, like Black Sabbath and, Vanilla Fudge and Zeppelin, and then years later I got into more the Rainbow later on and stuff, and then you got Vinny with Dio. I mean, it's just like all this great music, and Deep Purple was a big one, and I know.
Yeah.
And I talked to my old drum teacher, and Carmen. He had said he had seen you guys in Zeppelin together at the Fillmore. It was Zeppelin's first tour, and blows me away that he was actually there. And I believe you guys had the same drum kit when Bonham had a double bass kit.
I got him.
Because
that
you got
drum
the
kit.
endorsement, right?
Yeah, I got him.
But he had this. Yeah.
People, when I tell that story, people think like I'm egoing out kind of thing. But you got to understand. It's hard to understand that nobody knew who he was at that point.
Right.
They were just coming out, And when
It's
he
a
saw
great
my
thing.
drum set, I got him a drum set just like mine. And I often wondered at that show. You could ask whoever that was that told you that, your drum teacher. Like we would alternate billing at one point. Right. So I'd be playing. Let's say he plays first, so they play 2 double bass drums, same exact kit. They take the kit off, and then they put my kit on. It's the same exact kit. I often wonder what the audience thought, what the fucking roadies were doing. Like, what are they doing? Why'd they take that drum set off and put it back on?
With the one tom in the middle, right?
Yeah. John was using double bass too.
Yes, he was. And then at the end of that tour, that's when Robert and Jimmy said, "You're too busy with that. Get rid of that other bass drum." And then the Led Zeppelin drum set was born.
You don't need it. Yeah.
It was the big, all the big bass drum, big toms.
Do you still have that kit?
I got parts of it over at Randy's house in Long Island. One of the bass drums got lost somewhere. I don't know where.
It's in my
I
garage.
actually sold it.
Yeah, Vinny sold it.
No, Vinny ruined my other bass drum. We won't talk about that. That set. But Randy, I sold him the kit like 20 years ago, and he had it in the studio, and I think somebody ripped it off from the studio because he only had one bass drum there and everything else.
I had one of Carmine's first kits, an old Gretsch Red Sparkle. And
the one that was on Ed Sullivan.
The one that was on Ed Sullivan show. And then Carmine got the maple drums. So I'm like, I'm a kid. I go, wow, those are beautiful. I want that too. Maybe if I take the Red Sparkle off the drum, it would be just like a maple kit. But
I can't believe you're just saying this right now. As growing up, John Sweeney, my old drum teacher, he sold me his old Gretsch kits, like 60s, and the bass drums are 26 from the drummer from Dion the Belmont's kick drum.
Wow.
Right? What it was a 20, I'll send you guys photos. 26, 13, 18 floor tom, Red Sparkle, right? I was into metal, so, I got bored. I took the freaking covering off and decided to turn them, put the black on there, but that kit sounded freaking amazing. And get this, so I started playing double bass, and I got another bass drum to match the kit. And, of course, after it's recovered black, what do I get? A Red Sparkle bass drum to match the freaking kit. Bass drum. Oh, I want to shoot myself.
When I took that layer off, half the wood came with it too.
With all that glue.
He destroyed it.
Destroyed
that kit. And that was the kit that was on the Ed Sullivan show. Way. Now that kit would have been worth a lot of money.
Son of a.
Classic kit,
You son of a.
My brother Vinny.
Never trust your younger brother.
Never. But these guys.
Pain in the ass over there.
Hey, Brent, keep on rocking the free world.
Brent's surrounded by drummers here.
I love it, man. I'm totally into this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I was watching
like a kid in a candy store.
I was watching a Buddy Rich thing that came up on my site the other day. Let me watch another solo, right? And he did something that I can't even see. It was only 4 or 5 notes. They would think 5 notes: hi-hat, snare, bass drum, floor tom, something. I couldn't figure out what he did. It was so fast, you can't even see his hands. I was freaking out.
He's unbelievable.
It's wild to go back now because of YouTube and look at all that Buddy Rich stuff that you see, like all the Carson times that he was there, and that relationship that they had.
Wow, man.
Especially doing it, especially drumming like that with a jacket with that big of a lapel.
Right.
A big orange jacket.
Yeah, all those crazy like sweeps though, man, that he would do. I was just like, and by the way, I just actually found out about a lot of that stuff on YouTube, and we'll go down the rabbit hole and watch that. But you don't realize when that was filmed, and you're watching somebody like that. I mean, the drum set literally is a part of that guy.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
crazy to watch. It's extraordinary.
You know, it's funny whenever I do interviews, I'm probably you too, Brent and John. People sometimes say, "What was the first album you ever bought?" Like, let's go around. What was the first album, John, you ever bought?
My first record as a kid, my friend was at a record store. I bought Bad Company, Run with the Pack,
Okay.
which I still have, original record.
Brent, what about you?
The first real record I bought in a store. Girls, Motley Crue.
Okay, all right. I know, Vinny, you were like back in Led Zeppelin, and you never even bought them. I used to give them to you.
The first record I bought was a Beach Boys record. Go figure.
First concert I ever went to was the Beach Boys.
So
I was
for me,
young.
everybody expected me to say something like you guys say. Mine was Krupa and Rich, Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa.
Wow.
That was my first album I ever bought. You know?
Does anybody care about my first album?
What about you?
Of course.
Of course.
My first album was Los Cachinos by Cheech and Chong.
What was it?
Los Cachinos by Cheech and Chong.
That's awesome.
We're different here, guys.
I got an earring.
I got your Cheetos right here.
Basketball Jones! I got a basketball Jones. Or, hey, Dave's not here, man. Anyway.
Hey, man.
How many of those did they make?
They made I think I made about a dozen of them because I still got them.
And then they graduated to movies.
Yep.
Seen a lot of
Corsican
those,
Brothers
man.
and that stuff.
They
But
were
Tommy
great.
Chong's still doing it. They're you know, Cheech Marin's still doing it. I'm trying to get them at my place.
They've been around. They've been around so long that now pot's kind of legal.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I can't. They're all of a
That was
sudden
their whole
they become
thing.
irrelevant. I don't understand. So let me ask you, I started to touch on this a little bit, Brent, about your cover project, because I love all the cover songs that you do as well. You know, between Simple Man and Keep on Rocking the Free World. I mean, are these, did you select these songs? And if you did, was there a specific reason for any particular one of them?
So back in 2014, when me and Zach did the first Smith and Myers, it was all picked by the fan base. So and it was actually difficult to narrow it down to the 10 because we pitted all these songs against each other and whatever had the highest votes. We did it on Facebook. It took us 2 weeks and let the audience kind of pick the ones that we were going to do. The thing is that the Simple Man, that story is much more interesting in a lot of ways because when the band was formed, I didn't know I was going to be moving down into Florida and I was going to be based in Jacksonville and things of that nature. But Melody Van Zant was married to our original guitar player, Jason Todd. And Melody Van Zant was Ronnie Van Zant's daughter.
Ronnie.
And there was a moment down in Jacksonville where I ran out of money. See, I was signed to Atlantic Records with another band. I was dropped after a year, and then I was re-signed to a development deal from Ahmet Erdogan, Craig Kalman, and Steve Robertson. Steve Robertson, by the way, 20 years later at Atlantic Records is still our A&R. And the thing was that when I got to Florida, that's when I started working with all these different songwriters, but I was going all over the place with Steve Robertson. I mean, literally when it was trains, planes, and automobiles, man, we were just everywhere to create a band. I never wanted to be a solo artist. I always wanted to be a part of a band. To get to the point though, with the song, there was a moment where I ran out of money about a year into Jacksonville, and Judy Van Zant, which is Ronnie's widow, who ran pretty much all of Jacksonville Beach, had a club down there called Freebird Live and a bunch of other elements in Jacksonville, big real estate. I was going to have to go back to Knoxville, and we were still demoing and stuff like that. And she was like, "What do you mean you got to go back to Knoxville?" I'm like, "I ran out of money." And she was like, "You need to stay here." And she gave me a key. She gave me an address. and it was her guest house, and she housed me rent free for a year and a half,
Wow.
Wow.
and let
Cool.
me, and so that I could continue working with the musicians
That's
down
awesome.
there. Um,
Yeah.
and I told her, I was like, I don't know how I will do it, but I promise you I'll pay you back someday. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I promise you I'll pay you back. When we got out on the first tour with Shinedown, we were about 6 months into touring. We got this big gig with Three Doors Down, and we were only supposed to be on that tour for like 2 weeks. We ended up being on that tour for 9 months,
Oh.
and went from the first of four to main support by the end of it. Um, and we were in Boston, and we had just been in Jacksonville on that run, and I learned Simple Man, and me and Jason, we played it for her, this night, and what have you, and she really was very taken back by it, really thought it was sweet. Well, we went back to tour, and then 2 days later, we're at WAAF, which was a legendary studio in radio station in Boston, Massachusetts. And they got us to do the song live in the interview. And I was so nervous because I thought I'd sing it one time and that'd be it. And I was nervous because I didn't know if I was going to be able to remember all the words for the third verse. Anyhow, we did it, and they recorded it. This was early days of MP3s and websites and all that. Well, we came back to Boston 6 weeks later with our own show and found out that the version that we had recorded live on air of Simple Man had been downloaded 500,000, 600,000
Oh my
times or
God.
something
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
And so the label sent us down to Sanford, Florida real quick with a longtime writing partner, someone early in the writing process of Shinedown, a gentleman by the name of Tony Battaglia. And we recorded it real quick. They stripped it onto the record, and then it became a single. But the unique thing about the story is Judy at the time had 50% of the publishing of Leonard Skinner. And so by the time it had had the publishing and it went to number one on like two major charts, and it just stayed there and stayed there and stayed there. It was a
Wow.
happy accident, if you will. But I
Yeah.
Right.
remember about a year
It's
and a
like
half after
Vinny.
that, and I remember going up to her and being like, "I told you I'd pay you back."
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. There you go.
Right.
Ah,
Right.
there you
There it
go. You
is.
paid it back. That's right.
You
And it
still
Yeah.
talk?
never.
Still keep in touch with her?
I just had Melody and Araya, her daughter, and her son Coden on stage with us when we sang Simple Man the other night in St. Augustine, Florida, not even
Wow.
7 days ago.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I
And I'm
live in
sorry, I went
Florida.
on
I
like a
live in
really long
Florida
story
now.
there, but the thing is that the cover stuff, what we tried to do was be very authentic to it. But this
Yeah.
second record that we did, this double album, because the first one that we did was 2 EPs in 2014. And then what we did last year was we said, let's let the audience, the fan base, pick 10 new songs, but let's do more of like a reimagining. And then for the first time, let's do 10 original songs. So that's what those two records
Very
are.
cool project. Very cool
Wow.
project.
Great story.
Hey, Johnny,
I love
first
it.
of all, congratulations. Happy anniversary, 15 years with the cult.
Oh, thank you
And
very much.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you guys. Long and lasting guy. Actually,
I
longest
know,
lasting
man.
drummer at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the near future of the cult? Well, you guys working to do stuff. What's happening? 'Cause I know you're
Yeah,
now.
there's an album that works right now, and those guys have been working on demos with the new producer. So it's so hard right now. I mean, Billy, he goes back and forth to England and here, and he's been working with the producer who's out in England, Tom Delgetty. So they get together, and apparently Ian and him got together. So I mean, hopefully things will open up a bit more. We could get into a room and jam. So I mean, this is what we're hoping for, and cut a record and play some new songs next year when we tour. So I'm just patiently just waiting right now.
You know, when the first album was done by the Cult,
Mm-hmm.
they did it. I don't know if it's the first one, but it was the one they did with Bob Rock.
Oh, that's later. Yeah, Sonic Temple up in
Yeah.
Vancouver.
So
Yeah.
in Vancouver. So we were doing Blue Murder,
Oh, love that record.
and that was Bob Rock's first production.
I love the production
And
on that as
thank
well.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. And
Was that his first production?
Yeah, it was the first production
Huh.
because he was engineer for Bon Jovi and Aerosmith and all that, and then he started turning into producer, and we didn't have a singer, and we hadn't forced John Sykes to sing yet, because the singer we had was Tony Martin that sang with Sabbath, and the day we were going to Vancouver, he blew it out, and Bob said, "Just come over anyway. We'll do the tracks, and then we'll deal with the singing later." So we did all the tracks, and it was great working up there. And then we took a break, and he said, "All right, you guys take a break, go back to LA, try and find a singer. I'm going to do the Cult."
Is
So
that
he
There you
did the
go.
Cult
at
on
that
the
same
break,
time? So
and
that was '89, right?
that was '89, yeah, '88 actually, at
Okay,
the
88.
end of '88, going into '89.
So if I'm not mistaken though, too, did Rick Rubin do a cult record as well?
Yes, Electric, the Electric
Electric, that's
record.
what it
Yeah,
was.
Right.
it's very AC/DC. He stripped everything down. They
Dry, right? Like super dry
yeah.
record.
Was that before or after?
That was before. There's a record right before that one, Sonic
Right.
Temple.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, great record. That was the
But
first.
I think the
yeah.
one that
Yeah,
Bob
great
did is
record.
the one that really broke him big.
Yeah, and he actually did the last Cult record, the one we did, a Hidden City,
Yeah.
came out. Well,
Yeah.
it was just so great to work with him as a producer, and
Yeah.
he brought a
You
lot
know,
out of me. He really instilled me, like as a drummer.
When
Like,
he brought a lot out of me, I did the album twice
get
because
to work.
we were doing. I've always done albums with the click like we all do now, and
Yeah.
I punch in and out when I want to. I've been doing that since '82 because I got sick of it was always pressure on the drummer to go in and do the track,
Sure.
and everybody else, the singer, the bass player, keyboard, anybody can punch in and out. The drums couldn't, so.
John, what was the first? How old were you the first time you recorded for real?
For real was actually Exodus. It was 1990. Impact is no, yeah, 1990. When the guys, I actually filled in 1989. I was a drum tech for Anthrax back then for Charlie, and
Really?
they're the drum. Yeah. Tom Hunting couldn't do the tour. He had some problems, and they brought in Perry Strickland, a drummer from Violence, to finish the tour. It was the Headbangers Ball tour with Anthrax.
Oh wow.
That band Halloween and Exodus
yeah.
at back then, and it was the end of the tour, and they had a whole like headlining tour book. The record kind of blew up, Fabulous Disaster, right? And so they came to me and like, hey, would you want to do this tour? And I never played this type of music before. Honestly, I'm like a heavy metal drummer,
Right.
like, or hard rock and like thrash. I didn't play that style of music, but I worked for Charlie for so long, and I watched him, and I learned a lot. And so I'm like, and I asked Charlie, I was like, you think I could do this? I mean, like, should I do it? This is my chance. I'm like, yeah, you should. So honestly, on days off, I listened to songs and just learned it by airplaying and watched a lot. And after the tour was over, I was living in LA. They're up in the Bay Area, and so I flew up. And the tour's already booked, right? My first show is friggin' L'Amour's in Brooklyn, right? Honestly, it's like I better freaking nail this because that's it. The tour is booked. So I flew up and that was it. It just clicked, man. I really put a lot of work into it, listening, and it went really well. And we it was a great friendship, and I really respect those guys until this day. And playing with them like a month ago, it was really special. And with Tom and everyone involved, and and they brought me to that first level of honestly recording a record, Capitol Records. I got my first drum endorsement. It was a big deal, man.
Vinny and Carmine, what about you? Like, how old were you when you first recorded?
Actually, my band, I had a band in Brooklyn that had 4 horn players. See, I was into hard R&B. And we played James Brown and some originals, stuff like that. And then Jimmy Iovine was our good friend. He brought us into the record plant studios.
Okay.
And that's the first time I recorded professionally. And then that led to working with John Lennon, because that's where Lennon worked too.
Amazing.
So that was the first time with Jimmy, And,
What did you record, Vin?
What's that?
What did you record for the first time?
Those were all originals, and then with Lennon, actually, we started with him with doing hand claps on the song "Whatever Gets You Through
The Night.
the Night." and that's how we met him. And then we wound
You
up.
guys are brothers.
I love it.
That was
right
awesome
there,
what just happened
right
there.
there, man.
That was good.
That
That was
was
good.
awesome.
But
And we need a rim shot for this show. Ironically, we do not have a rim shot on this show.
But I
Well, not
must
today.
say,
today.
all the albums I played on there, which was Sabbath, Dio, all that shit, ain't no
Yeah.
fucking click on that stuff.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
Vinny,
all-
Vinny.
Yeah.
I went in and got warmed up and played those tracks
Yeah.
as best I
Fuck yeah.
could,
Excuse me,
sweating.
French.
And that's the way it happened.
Hey,
All
Vinny,
those
if you
albums.
if you know this, I'm a huge Derringer fan. It's because the record you played, "Sweet Evil," that was released in 1976, and I'll never
Oh, yeah.
forget this. Go into a local record store, and it was Black Sabbath, "Technical Ecstasy" came out the same day, right? So I bought the record, but the guy at the record store goes, "No, you want to get this record? It's way better." And he gave me "Sweet Evil," and I went,
Oh,
"Man, that
really?
was it."
Good record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable drumming, honestly.
That's with Jack
Amazing.
Douglas produced that.
Yeah. Get all the good
thank you.
Aerosmith and everything,
Thank you.
right? I love that record. Yeah, have the T-shirt and everything, brother. You know that.
Yeah, my first day in the studio predates everybody. You know, I didn't even know
How
when
old
it
were you
was.
though? When you went? How old were you when
I
you
was
like
about
recorded for real?
17, 16.
What was the record?
But that wasn't for real. It was a demo. But then when Vanilla Fudge I was maybe 19 and a half when we did You Keep Me Hanging On.
Get the fuck out of here.
I love it.
That's
And I got to
awesome.
bring it up as I always, Brent. I don't know if you know
Legend.
this, and I bring this up several times on the show. How many takes was your first big hit there, Carmine?
One take, mono.
Yeah, baby.
7 minutes
Crazy.
to change my life. You know,
That's heavy
I mean,
duty,
think
man.
about it. It's just unbelievable.
I know.
If you look at all the, I mean, it wasn't an easy. It's not an easy song either. I mean,
No,
look at
you
the
know, I just
B3.
found a version on YouTube because it was done mono. It was never stereo. I found a stereo version. They must have electronically done it on YouTube. Had 3.7 million views on it. I said, I didn't even know about that. And you know, the way the music business is set up today, we didn't make a dime off of that. Yet almost 4 million views, and the band don't make nothing.
No,
Well, you would have made a bunch if you would have recorded it in stereo.
Hey,
would have
come on,
been-
you're learning
It would
from
have been
Vinny here.
double. You'd make double in stereo.
Hey, so let me just finish what I was saying before with Bob Rock. So the reason why I recorded the album twice is because we started recording it, and I would, go through everything, and
Yeah.
then he came up to me at the end and said, "You know what? We got a much better drum sound now. We could either leave it or we can re-record everything." I said, "Let's re-record everything." And I went and re-recorded, and the way we punched in, I listened to every drum fill and made sure every drum fill was different. I didn't
That's
do
great.
one repetition drum fill on that whole record by doing it again with him.
That's why the universe is real, though, too. You know, those types of things happen. And I'm sure there was a lot on his side, too. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go up to this guy. And
Yeah,
I'm sure he's being honest about it. Like,
yeah,
I know we
he
just
was
played
honest.
all this, but we got better tones. We could leave it or we could redo it all. And the fact that you were like, let's redo
And
it
on
all.
that second realm of doing it, there was a song Jelly Roll that we did, and we
Yeah.
used to go to the strip bars and party and come back with the whole place, back to the studio. And one night John Sykes says, "Hey, Carl, why don't you go in there and play Jelly Roll?" And I was, I had a bit of a buzz going. We were smoking some pot, I had a couple of drinks. I said, "Nah, I don't want to do that." So he said, "Let's go ahead." So he persuaded me to do it. So I go in and do it. I play it. The next day we get up and we go listen to it. I was ready to go in and play it again, I listened to it. I said, "Wow, this sounds pretty damn good."
Keep
And
it.
there's this
That's a
long
keeper.
fill. It's like a 4-bar fill that go from the fast part to the slower part. That I didn't know if it worked or not. And I listened back to it. I said, let's keep it. It sounds great. It's
Yeah.
the only time I ever did that in my whole career. When I was really buzzed out and drunk or whatever,
Hey, man, whatever works.
Whatever it
It
takes,
was
right.
magic. It was magic.
And it's a great song too.
Now
And
he's
the
getting
Valley of
fucked.
the Kings. God,
Now he's getting fucked up all the time.
look at him.
Now I take my blood pressure pills before I go.
And his
Hey, at least you're
fiber.
being smart about it.
Make sure
Yeah.
you do your fiber too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, Metamucil shots really do a lot for your drumming. I'm just telling
No,
you.
no, I got a better one. Conosil is better than
See?
that.
See?
Okay? I know.
Well, there's a lot to be said about a drummer who's regular. I mean, I'm just saying. Listen, guys, Johnny, Brent, thank you so much. On that
Man.
note, we will want to thank you guys so much for joining us on the show, man. Just really, really great. Wish you guys truly the best. And I
Thank
got to
you.
say, Vinny, by the
Thank you,
way,
guys.
what an
Thank you.
unbelievable show you did at the Arcata Last in Line. Really, Vinny, thank you so much. It was
Oh,
incredible. It really, really was.
Vincenzo,
you made it
It
easy.
was.
He
my
had great
brother.
meatballs backstage.
Oh,
So after we
I'm
do
glad.
Vanilla Fudge and Cactus at the show, then we got to come back with Drum
We're
Wars.
gonna have some fun, man. We're gonna have some fun. Everybody, like we do, have more fun every Thursday night. We're your Artists on Lockdown, hanging and banging. I want to thank everybody backstage who's been helping us. Everybody from Love Productions, of course. Ben, our producer. Stephanie, of course, who helps us every week. And everybody back there, Gwen and everyone, George. So thank you all for joining us. Make sure you like us, share it, tell everybody about Artists on Lockdown, hanging and banging. Each week we're here 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Same bad channel, same bad station next week. Until then, keep on rocking in the free world. I love that song, Brent. See you next week, guys.